Today, maybe I'll break the streak today. I feel bad. I meant to write this. My computer crashed. But that's I'm very lucky. That doesn't narrow it down.
Let's rise in body or spirit and sing hymn 1010 and your Teal hymnal, We Give Thanks. Good morning. I'm Cindy Chalkin, a member of the worship committee, and my pronouns are she and her. It's a joy to welcome you all to this in-person and online service of the Unitarian Society of New Haven. Thank you for being here. If you are visiting us for the first time, or the second, or third, welcome. We welcome all ages to this space, including an area in the back with activities and comfortable seating. The sounds of young people are appreciated as the voices of the future. Also, please note that the first few pews on this side of the sanctuary are set aside for those wearing masks. Of course, you're most welcome to wear a mask anywhere in the sanctuary, but it's required if you sit there. We have a busy few weeks ahead as we welcome Springs Energy here to our vibrant community at USNH. So here are some events for today and also some to mark in your calendars. And remember to watch for the USNH weekly newsletter on Thursdays by email for other announcements. Today at 12 noon in the Children's Chapel, Reverend Stephen and Sunny Joy McMillan will lead the second installment of their Caring Congregation Small Group Ministry class. Also today at noon, all are welcome, including allies, to the monthly LGBTQ+ Welcoming Task Force monthly circle in room 208. Next Sunday, April 21st, there are two special events following the multi-generational Earth Day service from noon to 1 p.m. Joe DeRisi will present a workshop on sustainability, excuse me, and recycling to update our capacities to act locally. Excuse me. And Terry Blackhawk will bring her gifts to us in a poetry reading and workshop. We are so grateful to these contributions. Thank you. There will be a Passover Seder at USNH on April 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. The all-important congregational meeting will take place after services on June 2nd. That's a really important one to put on your calendar. And from the Stewardship Committee for today, look for the table in the social hall to contribute any amount to the Stewardship Challenge and help us raise an additional much-needed $15,000 for next year's budget. Thank you. Donate your gold and sterling silver that's no longer needed in your family to raise funds for USNH. Bring your items to the social hall today and the next 2 Sundays. We are reminded that the continuous work of our community relies on our shared generosity of time, talent, and financial resources. Ushers will be available at the back of the sanctuary after the service to receive plate donations. You're also invited to text a donation as explained in the order of service, or at any time to mail a check to 700 Hartford Turnpike in Hamden, 06517. Your generosity in all ways is deeply appreciated. And now, as we settle into our time together this morning, we hold with love and caring the collective joys and sorrows of all in our beloved congregation. We offer condolences today to the family of Peter McFedrin upon his recent passing, remembering his connections to USNH with his wife, Letty. Please remember that Reverend Stephen and the pastoral care team are always available to provide support to you. Sunny Joy McMillan will now lead us in a call to worship as we light our chalice.
Good morning. My name is Sunny. I'm the ministerial intern here at USNH, and my pronouns are she and her. I call us to worship, and we light the chalice today with words from spiritualist and mystic Reverend Howard Thurman. Memories crowd upon us as we look back over the week just past. Many high hopes, many dreams unfulfilled, many blunders made, and in the sharpness of our anguish, we would turn back the wheels of time and try again. Many joys that were unanticipated, many little graces by which our faith in ourselves and in life is lifted up and strengthened. Much for which we need to be forgiven, and much we need to forgive. All around us, O living Spirit, there are reminders of thy presence in our midst. As we enter this sacred space together this morning, may the great burden of anguish we may feel be lifted just a little. May we remember the unanticipated joys of our week and may we experience many little graces by which our faith in ourselves and in life is lifted up and strengthened. And so it is.
You will notice a slight little change in our usual configuration up here because Jesse and Sandra are having a well-deserved vacation in Spain. And so wherever they are, hola, we hope you're having a terrific time. The covenant that binds us together, that brings us together as part of a larger congregational movement, is extraordinarily important in Unitarian and Universalist history. But it's more important than simply a past. The Congregationalists employed over 300 years. It's operational every week that we gather. It's what makes us who and what we are. We take care of each other. We are not bound by specific doctrinal or creedal things. We're bound in what we promise to each other, what we are for each other. And that is bound together so beautifully in the covenant that you all wrote in the particular history of this congregation. And it's in your order of service, and let us say it together. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, and seek humor and joy. We're now going to sing together. William will play it through once. It's probably going to be a very familiar melody. Oh, well, let's just do it anyway. Okay. Let's work on this. It's familiar to me, but you know, what the heck. It's 373. Surprise. And the words are in your order of service. As William, you know it, yay, we know it. Since what we choose is what we are, what we love we yet shall be. The goal may ever shine afar, the will to win it makes us free. And I invite forward up Sonny. And is it nice to be transcendent over organized religion? For we are disorganized religion. Sonny, take it away.
Or maybe it's just when Jesse is out of town, things don't run quite as smoothly. So our message for all today comes from an old folktale called The Cracked Pot. This tale has been credited to both India and China, and it has been adapted by many different people and traditions many times over. Today's adaptation comes from author Scott Stabile in his book, Big Love. A bold Balinese woman named Nyoman lived alone in a wooden cabin high up in the mountains near Ubud. Each morning, she trudged more than 2 miles to the closest stream to gather water for drinking, cooking, and bathing. She carried with her 2 large clay pots, which she had crafted specially for the purpose of carrying water. She'd painted one pot purple and one pot pink, but only because she'd run out of her favorite colors of silver and black paint. Every morning, she hung the pots on a long bamboo pole, one pot at each end of the pole, and then rested the pole across her neck and shoulders in order to carry the pots back and forth between her cabin and the stream. The journey was hard, especially the return. Who wants to lug 2 giant pots full of water more than 2 miles up a mountainside? Not Naomi, but she needed the water. At least she adored her pots, and they loved her too. "Thank you, dear pots, for the gift of water each day," she said, every time she returned home from the stream before collapsing onto her bed, sweaty and exhausted. "It's a great honor to serve you, dear Naomi," the pots replied, because in parables such as this, clay pots don't just talk, they do so with refined formality. One day, upon returning home with her pots, Naomi was surprised to see the purple pot was only half full of water. "Oh dear," she exclaimed as she noticed a crack on the side of the pot where the water must have escaped. She thought, interesting. The purple pot sensed its crack and knew it had arrived only half full. Though it felt disappointed by this, it didn't panic, hopeful that it would retain all its water the next time. The following day, however, the purple pot returned half full once again. The day after that, too. Then the performance anxiety really set in. In fact, for more than a year, Naomi filled the pots, as she always did at the stream's edge, and the purple pot returned with only half its water, causing it great distress. One morning, as warm sunshine blessed the mountain, Naomi returned home with her pots and thanked them as usual. "Thank you, dear pots, for the gift of water every day." "It is a great honor to serve you, dear Naomi," the pink pot replied. The purple pot, however, burst into tears. "I'm so sorry, dear Naomi. I failed you over and over again. I am a worthless pot." "Failed me? Worthless?" Naomi didn't understand. "Did you take acting classes while I wasn't looking? Because you sure have gotten dramatic." Naomi laughed wildly at her tired joke while massaging her equally tired feet. The purple pot just frowned because obviously pots that talk and cry can also frown. "I am cracked and no longer worthy of your care. For more than a year, I have not been able to provide you with a full load of water. Every morning, the moment we leave the stream, I feel the water beginning to seep out through the crack in my side, and I know I will disappoint you again. Please craft yourself a new pot, one that will not fail you so." Naomi held the pot in her hands and smiled. "My dear purple pot, you need to chill. For real, you haven't disappointed me at all." "But I'm no good," the pot insisted. "I am a cracked pot." "You and me both, honey," Naomi replied. "I need to show you something." She carried the purple pot outside and walked with it along the path to the stream. "Do you see all the wildflowers along the side of your path, or along the side of the path you were on?" she asked. "All these Balinese beauties?" The purple pot took in the yellow and rose-tinted plumeria, the violet bluebells, and the fiery red ixora flowers that colored its side of the path. It even spotted some wild jasmine shrubs, their simple white flowers salted among all that color. The pot's journey to and from the stream had been clouded with so much guilt and shame that it hadn't even noticed the flowers until this very moment. "I see them," the pot replied. "Do you see any other flowers on the other side of the path?" Naomi asked, "the side under which the pink pot travels every day?" The purple pot looked to the pink pot's side of the path, but saw no flowers, just bare mountainside. "I don't understand," the pot said. "Why are there flowers on only my side of the path?" Naomi chuckled. "Because, drama queen, the morning after I noticed your crack, I planted seeds all along your side of the path. Every day as we return home from the stream, you water them. What used to be empty ground now bursts forth with color because of you. And at least now, when I make the back-breaking journey to and from the stream each day, I get to take in the beauty and scent of all these flowers, all because of your crack. Got it?" The purple pot listened to Naomi in disbelief. It stared out at the blanket of flowers it had played a part in creating, and it wept like no pot, purple, pink, or black, or silver, had ever wept before. It had only ever seen its crack as a flaw, but now it understood that it was also a gift. And now I invite you to join me in singing the children on, and we'll be singing Go Now in Peace, which should be in, yes, it is in your order of service. Go now in peace, go now in peace, may the Spirit of love surround you.
Everywhere, everywhere you may go. I think they're gone. Last week, I did a unusual meditation. I was aware that it was unusual, where I talked about the potentiality of a ceasefire and everything that was going on in the Middle East. We don't hear the words famine very often from this pulpit, but it was useful. Last night, I watched, mesmerized, as potentially many of you did, of the skies over Israel, with over 300 drones, missiles, cruise missiles. Earlier in the week, the assassination of Iranian generals in Damascus, and on and on and on. One response, one retaliation, one response, one retaliation. If it seems endless, it actually is, because it goes back centuries. In seeing those bright lights in the sky and the iron dome containing them, I remembered a poem by Victor Hugo called The Star. I had fallen asleep one night near the sea. A cool wind woke me, and leaving my dream, I opened my eyes and saw the morning star glittering in the far depths of the sky. It was a light that thought and lived. It calmed the waves breaking on the reef. It was like seeing a soul through a pearl. It was night, but darkness could not rule. An indescribable love was everywhere. Green grass shivered in bliss at my feet. And as darkness lifted its long, folded veil, I heard a voice come from the star. I shone on Sinai. I shone on Tagita. I am the fiery gold pebble that God hurled from a catapult into the night's dark facade. I am what is reborn when a world is destroyed. And O nations, I am the poetry of devotion. I shone on Moses and I shone on Dante. The line like ocean is in love with me, and I rise. Virtue, courage, truth, faith, thinkers and spirits, climb the ramparts, eyelids open, eyes alight. Earth, plow your furrows and start the fanfare. Life, sleepers arise. For the one who follows, the one who sends me ahead, is the angel of freedom. It is the giant of light. For up above all the armaments we can poise over each other's heads, there is far beyond and above this cool, serene, indestructible light that speaks of a world that yet can be. when we have determined that we will not destroy each other, but lift each other up, to arise, sleepers awake.
Our reading today comes from Rumi in his poem, The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And now the USNH Choir.
The spirits who guide us have called for a departure from the printed order of service. We will have long time ago arranged by Aaron Copeland.
Well, the sermon I intended to do, my dog ate it. Liz may tell you at coffee hour we don't have a dog, but don't believe her. Actually, I'm astonishingly well prepared, so just sit back. This is going to be great. Some years ago, I discovered a lovely little book called Life's Greatest Excuses. I'd like to share some of them with you right now. Some of you may want to get out your notepads because some of them are good, so you might want to use them. I'm this way because of my parents. My parents are this way because of their parents. And my kids are this way because of my parents. I never smoke in the house. I only smoke at parties. I could quit tomorrow. After going all day without smoking, I deserve a cigarette, and this is my last one. I'm just big-boned. European sizes are smaller. Skipping one day of exercise isn't going to kill me. I'll pay you back tomorrow. We gave at the office. We gave it home. The check is in the mail. My hard disk crashed. It wasn't my idea. No one ever told me. I didn't have my calendar with me. The weather is too beautiful to go to work. The weather is too awful to go to work. I never said that. I don't remember saying that. That's not what I meant. You must have misunderstood. I was a brand new minister. It's hard to believe this story is 40 years old, but it is. But it came back to me this week with great vividness. My very first church, actually two churches, Columbia, Maryland, and also York, Pennsylvania. And I traveled between them back and forth. It was a busy time in my life and in our life. And as they often do to bright, shiny new ministers, they invited me to join the Joseph Priestley Board, which was designed to be a great honor. And they knew if you asked someone new, they might accept. And I did. And I'm a cartoonist and a sometime artist, and they were preparing an array of brochures, and I volunteered to do drawings for them. And it seemed easy and simple enough. But 1 week went by and it didn't get done, and then another week came by and it didn't get done, and then an unexpected funeral arrived, and then I had a sermon to write, and the deadline went past another week. And now I was starting to feel some distress. And I still didn't do it. The person who had asked me to do this was an amazing minister named Alice Blair Wesley. I remember her with great fondness. It was her doctrine of being Unitarian churches being free to thrive that I thought was prophetic and important. And I was just getting to know Alice. And she was a toughie, you know, she could be a little acerbic. And I knew that if I picked up that phone, it was going to be a really long and difficult conversation about where this stuff was. And another week went by. And here my memory gets a little cloudy. Isn't it interesting when guilty memories flood back how much the mind represses? Alice either wrote or called me, I'm not sure which. And she was really angry. Where was the material? Where were the drawings? Well, I should have called her back. But she was so angry. I had a further block. You know, who wants that kind of confrontation, right? Every step of the process had been so quiet, so small, hardly noticeable. And now here I was, ashamed of myself, angry at the situation, fearful of her entirely justified anger. It was a mess. Maybe you can identify. Maybe you have somewhere along the way overpromised or missed a deadline. It's pretty common. It's not at all unusual. As a minister, I have had to deal with a lot of volunteers doing a lot of things across the years. And the miracle is that you so overwhelmingly pull it off and do it. But I want you to know that I have lived this issue, and I know what it's like to be on that other side. Alice and I became good friends again. I wrote to her. I apologized. I just told her I was overwhelmed. And I asked for her forgiveness for my irresponsibility. It took a while, but she did forgive me. I had the clear sense at the time that if I had picked up the phone or written her and given her excuses as to why, she might not have ever fully forgiven me. The reality is, I needed her to forgive me as I really was, not as any array of excuses might have presented me as being. Fact is, I did something really human. Not dire, not drastic, but there was ultimately, quote, no excuse for my blocking out. I had to own it. It was mine. I did it. Making excuses can mean that you're attempting to distance yourself from your very own actions, and your very own actions define you. For good or for ill. Excuses are not an insignificant subject because they link up to issues of forgiveness, of imperfection, of being human, of understanding who we are, how we actually are, not as we pretend to be. Excuses are threaded all through our lives. And they come, I think, in three handy packages ready to send out into the world. There is, first of all, classic excuses. I've shared some of them with you already. And I've come to believe that these are evasions that we tell to others. And they also come as second package, rationalizations. These are evasions that we tell ourselves. And lastly, there's the plain old lie, the check is in your mail. A wise old owl once said to me, Stephen, when you're dealing with this life issue, always understand that there are reasons for what you did, but there are not excuses. So share the reason, because then the person has some opportunity to understand you. Sometimes we don't want to be understood because these excuses feel like a comfortable mask that we can fit over ourselves, but they're not very efficient. They don't really work. They reduce us rather than lift us. And we are all imperfect creatures. Lincoln once said, God must have loved imperfect people because he made so many of them. What do I mean by that? Well, it's not terribly complicated. We're all absolutely finite in our time, in our life energy, and we are sometimes enormously blind to our own and others' best interests. And we will come up short. We will. We just will. And we'll do it a lot. It's pretty plain that we all have to deal with this incompleteness. And one of the classic things that Christianity has done with this is to come up with the doctrine of original sin, and that's not really what I'm talking about today. I think it's a lot closer to original blessing, if you ask me, but we do live in a realm that is threaded with incompleteness, and thank goodness we do, because that's the only space that we can have to grow and to change. We are part of an evolving picture. We don't command it, we don't rule it, we don't guide it particularly well. We live, and the incompleteness also lives in and through us. We are not powerful and all-knowing. We're not little gods. And in this incompleteness, that's where the temptation for excuses lies, but there also is the opening, the possibility, and the opportunity to grow. You see, here's the deal. Other people see us really well. Other people see you better than you see yourself. This is almost an ironclad rule of reality. And they see differently than you do. The person that's easiest to fantasize about, to have illusions and projections about, the person that's easiest to fool with excuses, it's always ourselves. Because we don't see ourselves very well. And that's why our excuses rarely ring true. We think they're going to work, but they don't. They're not very artful attempts to disguise who we are. Excuses aren't so much lies to others, so much as evading ourselves. And at best, the most employed excuse is even more illusionary, and it's all purpose. Hey, it's not my fault. It's really yours. There was an interesting editorial a couple years ago in the New York Times that said that modern society had evolved a new kind of apologizing. You know, in the old days, we would just say, I'm so sorry. Now, the apology that I guess PR people, publicists have given to celebrities, and now we can use in our daily lives, is, I am so sorry that what I said offended you. Is that an apology? Basically, it's your fault for being offended. You can blame others all the time. Our marriage is the shape it's in because of you. I drink because my mother didn't love me. There's always truth in these assertions. We know society is rapidly unfair and that people don't always have our best interests at heart. Racism and sexism and all kinds of isms are threaded through our lives, and they are very real. But as excuses, they're not very useful. The problem with blaming others is we come very close to casting ourselves as a victim. And victims are not well poised or equipped to change their circumstances because they are close to surrendering and portraying themselves as being powerless. And if you believe yourself and cast yourself as powerless, as a victim of fate or of circumstance or of society, well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? But there's another opportunity, which is to explain ourselves, to reveal ourselves. We need much more of that. But that's not making excuses. That's not rationalizing anything. Coming to self-understanding is hard. Making excuses is easy. Working for self-understanding is a very daring, and I would suggest daunting, enterprise. Because making up rationalizations is just really an effective shutting down. It's a closing off. It's a coward's way out. But forgiveness and self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others, it's forged out of honesty and courage and daring. It is, I believe, the highest of the spiritual arts to learn forgiveness. The UUA some years ago sent out a letter to every single minister saying that the new directory supplement had just gone out, and Reverend Robert J. Lewis was not dead as listed. He was very much alive, and they gave us his address. And they use these words, and I've saved this letter all these years because I thought it's a fantastic example of how simple this can be. It doesn't have to be weird and complicated and strange. It can be really straightforward. The UUA deeply regrets the misprint. We are very sorry and take full responsibility for this error. Done. Done. In this realm of imperfectness in which we live, and have our being, forgiveness is so powerful. It's such an important spiritual art that I think it's almost the highest, because it's an unfolding of what we might be for each other. It goes right back to the covenant that we started the service with. It's what you promise each other. And that's what makes it so rich and powerful. Yes, it's hard emotionally. Yes, it is. But it's easy in its formulation. We are very sorry and take full responsibility for this error. The question isn't the reality of being held back by society or circumstances. We all are to some degree or another. Sometimes life can be drastically unfair. And sometimes we limit ourselves. And we all have reasons. We all have reasons. But all the excuses of life piled high, it's just a burden to carry with you. It's not worth it. You can live without excuses, but you can't live without apology. The Vedanta says, do not believe in sin, only error, and the greatest error is to think that you are weak. And if they said that 3,000 years ago, you can just about bet it's true today. Imperfect we are, but we are each one of us incredibly powerful and precious. You are a soul that will never be repeated again. I want to end with an old-fashioned poem called Invictus. Maybe some of you memorized it, back in elementary school. I almost didn't use it because it's kind of old-fashioned rhetoric. It's kind of a cliche. And then I thought, no, maybe because it's so old, it has some applicability. It has some staying power. Out of the dark night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced or cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. And it matters not how straight the gate, how charged the punishments and the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. This assertion could be seen, but isn't anything other than you owning your life, understanding what is yours to do. And it always will come to us, time and again, to make good, to be truthful, to look someone in the eye and say, I am so sorry. You may or may not be forgiven, but that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is your burden has been lightened. The point is you have owned your soul. And this is because I believe there is this light, this star, that shines in each of us. A note of triumph, not in spite of our imperfections, but quite literally because of the journey of growth that we have each been on and that we share together in covenant, in community, in congregation. That's how a soul is made. That's how it's forged. Life's greatest excuses can be cast away. But the bravery of your true self, in the midst of your shortcomings, in the midst of our mistakes, in the midst of our moments of weakness, these are still where your light shines. Amen. I've been wanting to sing this all week long. 103, For All the Saints. Please rise as you are willing and able.
For
if you'll come and extinguish our chalice, we do so with these words we share. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now may peace, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge of love. And may this peace be yours in the week to come. May there be peace. Amen.